Hi everyone. I would like to talk today about the different things we think about time. So, as a physics teacher for over a decade, I often talk about time as, this one constant where we always measure distance, speed, acceleration with respect to time. Time is this one thing that, in a sense, is constant. It's always moving forward, linear, 1 second after the other, right? And it's the thing that we can all agree on. But then, what happens outside the classroom? What do we learn outside in the real world, shall we say? Have you ever experienced dreams that later on happened in reality? I've experienced a lot of those, particularly in the past 3 years or so. When I dream something, it's just, it's nothing extraordinary, right? Like I was in a car or I was talking with my friends or family, things like that. But, it's just it seems like an everyday event. But when I wake up, I realize, oh, that was just a dream. It can be an ordinary thing similar to what we are actually doing, right? For example, me talking with my cousins. Or it could be a fantastic, different situation. Like, uh, definitely we were not in this trip or we were not in this country and so on. But the thing is, something happened, but I know the characters. I know that this was my friend. I know that this was my classmate. I know that this was my relative, right? And then months later or years later, that same combination of events happened. Of course, it can be coincidence, right? Fine, sure. Anything in this world, there's a very, very small chance, right? That anything can happen. Anything and everything, right? We have statistics to tell us how random something is. But when things like that keep on happening, y- um, somewhere down the line, you say, this is no longer coincidence. There is something behind it. So, does that mean that we can see into the future, right? And I don't know whether in dreams or in the visions of people who are awake. Perhaps you have experienced that, or perhaps you know some people who have. How interesting is that, right? Did those people just guess something? Was it just a lucky chance that they got those details right? Or were they able to see just a little bit ahead than the rest of us? Right? I read this analogy somewhere about, yeah, so, philosophizing about free will versus destiny, right? For example, if I look at a trail of ants, right? They're carrying food, they're going in one line or somewhere along the way. Maybe some of them lose their scent and then they get lost and all that, right? So, me, with my bigger vision, right, I can see things happening a mile away compared to them, right? For example, if I mess up their trail, right, and then they would get lost, the people in front, right, the leaders will get lost first and then the rest of them. But for me, I know what's gonna happen to the entire group. They don't know it yet. They will make their decisions, but I have a very good chance of predicting what their decision will be. So, how similar is that to supreme beings, right? Whether you believe in a creator or superior beings, one or more, right? Or just looking at, yeah, people compared to animals, or parents compared to children, right? Or animals compared to plants, right? You see something happening, or you can predict something happening, even though those less, shall we say, inferior creatures or simpler creatures, they still use their free will, but we can predict what they will do ahead of time. And it sounds a bit creepy and all that, but isn't that what we do with our computer programs, right? You tell Siri or Alexa what to do. You type in the computer what you want to do. You type in my device, on your device, where do you want to go? Tell me where I need to go, etc. Right? So, how did we get there? You know, predicting something to happen versus actually doing it, right? There's this scene also in The Matrix. I think it's the second one where Neo asks the Oracle, what exactly did he ask? Um, Something again about choice, and then the Oracle says, "You did not come here to decide about the choice. You already made the choice. You just want to understand why you made the choice." And I'm like, oh, yeah, mind blown, right? Like, what? Yeah, so according to the Oracle, right, maybe the Oracle already knows what Neo is going to choose. Whether they programmed Neo to do that, or they know from his character, right, or his programming, or his creation, they know how he is what decisions he's going to make, what are his preferences, right, what he is more likely to do versus what he is less likely to do. But Neo is still acting out of his own free will as the creature that he is, right, and he wants to understand more of it. Right. So anyway, for me, just looking at, I appreciate the analogy about, yeah, just looking at ants. I think I may have read it first from the Case for Christ, explaining the possibility of God, right? Or how God can coexist with beings who have free will. Yeah, predestination, destiny, and even prediction, right, and prophecy and free will. They can actually coincide. But still, that doesn't answer really the question about. So, when we have dreams, right, when limited mortals like us see into the future as well, right? Hey, I did not create that. How come I'm able to see it? Right? Things like that, right? I don't I I don't think I'm supposed to see that, or shouldn't we take things one day at a time? How come I'm able to see something that I'm going to do in the future? You may have read or watched the movie Arrival, yeah, starring Amy Adams. It's really a wonderful movie. I actually haven't watched it yet, just seen snippets. But oh my gosh, I read that story, the short story where it was based on in college. And out of all the fiction stories and all the stories we had in college, that was the only story that I kept. And funnily enough, a decade or two decades later, I saw this old chunk of my college memorabilia. And I saw, oh, this is the only story that I saved. It's called The Story of Your Life. Forgot the author. You can Google it, right? But it's such a moving story. And then, so I Googled more about it. Like, who is this author? This is what happened to this story or this writer. And that same week or so, that same month, apparently, oh my gosh, it's going to be turned into a movie. Wow, a mainstream movie. That's wonderful. So I do hope all of us get to see the movie Arrival and read the short story, The Story of Your Life. Um, some details were changed, some were the same, but the idea is, okay, spoiler warning. The idea is humans come into contact with a different species, yeah, aliens who see things differently, who see things as the big picture. And actually, even the way they write, the way they communicate, like they communicate in circles. Because you don't just write letters left to right to left, up, down, up, right? That's how we communicate right now, right, as humans. One at a time, yeah, one letter at a time. Even those who use picture words like the Chinese, right? It's still in linear form, just in more complicated ways. Just a bunch of ideas, but still in letter form or linear form, rather. But these aliens, they communicate in circles. So, one circle, you can read it clockwise or counterclockwise, but you already see the start and the end. You already know the last part of the sentence, shall we say, and the first part and the middle in just one moment. And it's awesome because the linguist, so played by Amy Adams, she was able to see things the way the alien saw it. And she was able to look at life, existence, the same way. Not just living moment by moment, but entirety, the entire thing. That's why she saw her life and later on the story of her daughter's life. That's why the original story was named The Story of Your Life. The mother, the linguist, was talking to her daughter because the mother, the linguist, saw everything, how the daughter was going to live and die years before it even happened. But she still had the choice. She still exercised her free will and said, I choose to do this. Oh, and that's actually okay. Lots of spoilers, but this is really worth watching, yeah, or worth spoiling about. It's your call. It's your free choice, okay? If you're gonna be spoiled. So, what about the father, right? What about the father of this daughter? So, that's actually why they broke up because the father said, oh, you could have prevented this, all this suffering. Why did you still choose to go through this, knowing that it will lead to pain, knowing that there will be death? But, hey, there's death anyway, right? Wherever we go, there will always be death. For those who take pets, they're gonna die probably sooner than we do. A lot of people get traumatized by that, but that's part of life. So, going back to the linguist future mother, right? So she chose to experience things. Yeah. In the movie, it was more about she chose to accept to be the mother even though she knows that her child will grow up with some disability and will pass away early. There's even a more tragic way in the book, in the short story, because it sounds like a Greek tragedy. It's like Oedipus, I think. So with with the short story, the mother still wanted to avoid her daughter dying. But in her attempts to make things very safe for her daughter, the daughter kept on rebelling because, mom, you're so corny. You're so, you're so, you paralyze me. You strangle me with all these safety tips. So it led to her daughter being more risky, and the daughter actually died from mountain climbing. Yeah, so something a bit dangerous. So you can say even that her mother trying to avoid the future actually created it. And don't we have that same saying, right? We meet our destiny on the steps we take to avoid it. Something like that. So yeah, that's that's the coexistence of free will and destiny, right? Yeah. uh yeah, in an ironic twist. So that's Arrival. It also reminds me of um yeah, so if we wait, I have notes. There's a lot. It also reminds me of, when Mary was visited by Archangel Gabriel, and yeah, she was informed, okay, you will be the mother of this special child and all that. And then she just said, okay, let God's will be done. I am just the maidservant. So she did exercise her free will, even though she was actually informed. Her permission wasn't really given, right? I mean, in the scriptures, in the writings that are passed on to us right now, Gabriel, the angel, wasn't really asking for her permission, was he? He was actually informing her, you are chosen, etc. But Mary still exercised her free will and said, okay, I choose to do this. I choose to let this happen. Yeah, let it be. As the Beatles song did, right? Yeah. Based on Mother Mary. So Mother Mary says, let it be. Okay, what else? So there's also this scene in X Files, if you know X Files, right? So Dana Scully was talking to some people, and then she heard somebody say, sometimes you need to go full circle to find the truth. One more time, full circle to find the truth. So similar to the aliens, talking in circles instead of just one line. They talk in one circle, or you can say you just see the big picture. But the thing with the circle is you don't really know where is the start, where is the end. You can start anywhere and end anywhere. Or you can even say there is no start, there is no end, right? You can say it's a trap because, oh, there's no hope. But it doesn't have to be a trap. It just means that where you start is also where you end. Does that mean that we don't change? Maybe we learn a little bit more when we go back to the starting point, wherever we started. So yeah, when Scully again later on, she just saw a garbage bin, a rubbish bin, the recycle sign. And then she remembered, yeah, full circle to find the truth. And it was a pivotal moment for the episode and for her life personally. Because when she went back to her starting point, she wasn't the same. She was actually a more complex person. She learned more. She had a deeper realization and philosophy of life. It's like she just returned to the circumstances. She just returned to the situation, but she grew so much when she returned there. So you can even say that it's not really a circle, but a spiral. Some say that, we learn in spirals, right? So from one point, we go around, yeah, we go back to that same point, but we have evolved, we have grown, we have expanded in our consciousness, in our heart, in our soul, and then we continue expanding and expanding, so that even though it seems like history repeats itself, we, the characters, are actually becoming, hopefully, better, more evolved, right? Expansive. So that also, goes back to, imagine the Big Bang, right? So we are told, yeah, from one speck or one dot of existence, everything expanded in all directions, right? Imagine fireworks, expansive, right? That's why a lot of people believe that, this creation is actually the creator experiencing himself, herself over and over again by repeating different events, by interacting with each other. What if I was the hero? What if I was the villain? What if I turned left instead of right? What if I practiced a little more kindness? What if I did a little less kindness? What's gonna happen? Right? And I hope we also get to empathize with each one, right? And sometimes we say, how come this person did this to me? Oh, right. There was also a time when I did that to somebody, right? It really expands our awareness, our consciousness. Hopefully, it expands our heart. Hopefully, we understand people more and we even get to forgive more and love more. Because, yeah, I understand. I get you. I would have done the same. Yeah, even if it's bad. Yeah. I really, yeah, it's really humbling sometimes when I really can't hate people because I understand where they're coming from, and sometimes I would have done the same or worse, but it's really cathartic. It's really a release, a good release when I ask forgiveness from the people I've hurt because somebody hurt me in the same way, right? So if you can forgive also the people who hurt you, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I have some notes. Have I done all the notes? Yeah, so like the Smashing Pumpkin song, the end is the beginning is the end. And a cycle, one my favorite X-Men character, the Phoenix from the ashes, right? Rising from the ashes. Baby bird, glorious phoenix, burned out, and then from the ashes, you are reborn. Hopefully, it's not a vicious cycle. Hopefully, something is gets better every time. And as for time, so is it linear? Is it a spiral? Or maybe everything is happening all at once? Like that movie, I also want to watch that. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've also watched The Hours, right? Three different storylines happening at the same time, and The Fountain. Please watch them all. So, yeah, when we have deja vu, are these past lives? Are these glimpses into the future? Or maybe it's all happening at once. So, things to think about. My phone battery is dying. Please watch all the movies, read all the stories. And yeah, think about that. And yeah, thank you for listening. Bye bye. God bless.